Today's episode is brought to you by Freedom Project Academy. Looking for a K-12 classical online school built on Judeo-Christian values? FPA is enrolling now for the fall. Request your free information packet at freedomforschool.com. That's freedom, F-O-R, school.com.
It's time to get educated on the craziness impacting K-12 classrooms and college campuses around the world. This is the Dr. Duke Show.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the show. Before we get started, please hit that share button so we can educate many, many, many patriots around the country. Today, we're kicking things off with Vicki McKenna and Culture Cast. Vicki, I titled this segment that I'm going to do with you today of Demons and Democrats. Let's talk about to what degree has the Democrat Party wandered so far away, not just from obvious truth, the truth of biology, the truth of reality, but so much so that we could clearly say in many instances they are standing shoulder to shoulder with evil when it comes to things like abortion.
Not just abortion, but what they're trying to do to children as well. They're trying to alter the very nature of children. They're trying to force hormonal treatment and mutilating surgery on little kids. I mean, you've basically got a group of people who are a cult. I mean, they're a cult. There's blood sacrifice of infants. There is the transformation of children. Children are not actually considered anything inviolate. Children are a means to an end. I mean, it sounds like some of the creepy horror novels that were written, in pulp back in the 1970s and the stuff of bad movies. But you have a huge group of people who actually do not believe that children are anything sacred or anything unique to be protected. They are malleable. They're manipulable, to be used for a political end that would produce the chaos and the nihilism I think that we see right now. I think that is the actual goal. It certainly isn't about making people happy or bringing about some kind of peace on earth. Because you're not going to be happy and have peace on earth if it requires the blood sacrifice of children or the mutilation of them. So this all emanates out of an idea that in order for the left to seize control, you have to get rid of that pesky thing called God, because God is what causes us to defend those children, to fight against the blood sacrifice, to stand up for objective truth. And so, it's power, I think, that motivates most of this, a desire for power and a desire for the ultimate power, which, of course, is the ultimate power of God. I think these people honestly think that they can transform themselves into God. And if we don't want to go along with that, well, they're powerful and they want to assert that, they will destroy us.
Well, to me, it's just go back 15 years. In just 15 short years, if you had taken the stand that the Democrats are taking today, that with Chuck Schumer's trying to rush through Congress, this new law that will allow any abortion from any time, anywhere, at any point of pregnancy, even if the child were born alive, then you must allow the child to die. This is so extreme that 15 years ago, the Democrat Party would have been full-throated against this. They would have accused
I think you're wrong. I don't think the Democrat Party would have been full-throated against it 15 years ago. 50 years ago, sure.
How long was it?
No, they were already getting rid of the Pledge of Allegiance because it had the words "under God." They booed God at their convention, 15 years ago. This is, by the way, to your point though about what Schumer has introduced. It's about turning the very idea of reality inside out, because it's not about women. This isn't about women and abortion. It says this act is intended to protect all people with a capacity for pregnancy. All people with a capacity for pregnancy. Cisgender women, transgender men, non-binary individuals, and those who identify with a different gender than others. These are the groups of people who presumably need to be, quote, protected by being given a right to kill children at any point in the pregnancy. And let's not forget, this is the same party that in 2 states, in California, and I believe the other state is Maryland, have introduced pieces of legislation that would allow infanticide up to 28 days after birth. So, this has been coming on the Democratic Party for a long time. And they have been showing signs of this radicalism for a long time, since well before Obama became president. So I'm not as shocked by their beliefs as I am as by their willingness to admit what they're actually trying to do. You mentioned, not letting kids, not helping children after they've survived abortions. That's merciless. That's evil and merciless, and they demand to be able to do this in the name of the pursuit of their power.
Yeah, and the other thing I would point out is the degree to which the progressives have absolutely convinced women, and let's be very clear, the only group that can have babies. You can word salad it all you want, throw around cis that and trans this. One word describes all of those creatures, and they're all called women. It's amazing to me that you think about the vehemence. Think about the angry, murderous vehemence of a huge number of women in this country who believe that destruction, the radical destruction of the child they created through their own sexual behavior is somehow a great moral good, that there can be no other way of looking at this, though, through the lens of liberation and empowerment. That's what's really frustrating. I mean, there were people cheering the death of the Jews in the 1930s who thought this was an incredibly progressive and forward way of dealing with human problems. It's the same thing when it comes to this right now.
Yeah, and how isn't it? How is this not the same thing when you have people saying, shout your abortion, when you have, as you saw in front of that Manhattan Catholic Church, with the young men, continually praying the rosary, but the women running around, I killed my baby, babies, acting out abortions as if it's some kind of ritual, as if it's some kind of thing to be, that is sacred. And so, yeah, this is the vehemence and the audacity. To actually think that somehow you can declare your commission of a death, of a murder, a moral good, is again it's more of a testament to the left's inversion of reality, inversion of the truth, inversion of the concept of objectivity. And what is the inversion of the truth? The inversion of the truth is defined as evil. And so, I mean, it's the only place I can actually land, and the only real word that describes everything that's going on succinctly.
Well, at the we've now just traced the descent of Democrats into Democrats. After the break, let's talk about the possibility that maybe engaging in this kind of conscienceless murder jubilantly, maybe that's going to invite actual demons. We'll be right back.
Well, let's talk about that.
With all the censorship taking place on social media platforms, we've made it easy to keep up with your favorite content. Simply download the Freedom Project Media app in your app store. Get access to 18 new videos a week, plus thousands of archived shows, lecture series, and educational animations. Download the Freedom Project Media app on your Apple TV, Roku, tablet, or phone, and make sure you allow for notifications to keep you informed.
Okay, back with Vicki McKenna and CultureCast. So we've been tracing how evil acts ultimately give rise to evil things. Take a look at this picture. It's making the rounds. It's very frightening. Right behind the blonde head you see in the very foreground is one of the protesters, and this is a still shot. And it is, for lack of a better word, arresting in its terror. I mean, you look at the face and you look at the exaggerated forehead, the almost vicious mouth. You look at this and you wonder, right, what's going on here? I mean, Mike, roll the clip too. You can get a quicker sense of it here. Right there, you see it over the shoulder. And as soon as the camera comes over the head of that woman, watch the thing turn immediately away from the camera. Now, there are other places in the video where you get a faint and not very good view of this particular woman, and she doesn't look quite so arrestingly evil. Right. So the question is this. I mean, one of the things we've talked about a lot is that that to allow this kind of evil inside of yourself is indeed, in many instances, to bring the demonic in you. And it wouldn't be surprising in the least if there were times where those things that we allow into ourselves, they look out through our eyes. They look out through our own visages, and every now and then you catch a glimpse.
I think that's what we saw. I think we saw somebody who had allowed herself, who invited in demons, and there was just for a split second you could see it manifest. Because she, again, like you were saying, if you can see some of the fainter images of her, she doesn't look like a walking demon. But in that picture, she looks like for a moment that she was taken over by something else, and we were meant to see that. If I were that woman and I saw, and she has to have seen this picture, if I were that woman and I had seen that picture, I would be terrified of what might be going on within myself. But then again, you have to believe. You have to believe in God. You have to believe in demons if that is something that can dawn on you. But if I were to look at myself in a picture like that, I would have thought something is seriously wrong. And I think I would have called a priest.
And when you think about what's going on there, this is, and I would also call your attention to everybody else. What you and I see so clearly just by an accidental snap of a camera is completely and utterly unavailable to everybody else who's engaged in their hate speech. They are screaming at the house of John Roberts, I believe it is. They are threatening. They are raging about their right to destroy human life. Even if you want to make the argument that they believe in good conscience, right? That an unborn child at certain phase, at least, is not a child. What they're demanding here is the ability to kill children without any stigmas, without any
they want it celebrated
completely.
You've seen these stories about women who have abortion parties.
Yes,
they'll actually get their gal pals over, and they'll bring the heating pads, and they'll bring Haagen-Dazs ice cream and romantic comedies that everybody's going to watch together, and a gigantic bottle of Gallo. I'm sure you've seen those stories, and if you haven't, look it up. Abortion parties. You also have women who want sympathy, who want to be able to take time off, bereavement time, so that they can contemplate the abortion that they so enthusiastically endorse. Again, like it's like it's a ritual sacrifice, like it's something that needs to be turned into, inverted into something beautiful from something ugly. But you can't do that with abortion. You can't do that. And I think that's what you saw on the face of that woman. Well, is that maybe she thought she was there doing good or being righteous, but you can't invert evil into goodness. Evil's always going to show itself, and I think that's what we saw on her face.
I agree. And let's not forget, too, the warped consumer culture in this country right now, where you've got major institutions of money making, of capitalism, who are promising moms, pregnant women, that they will pay to give them leave and travel money to leave the states that may ban abortion, so that they can go on abortion tourist runs, right, where they can cross state lines, have their company pay for it, so that they can destroy, again, human life. It is amazing how the corporate life of this country has joined in with this murderous way of seeing things. I mean, there was a time not long ago where a corporation this big would never get involved with something as absolutely shocking as this, and yet now they've lined up.
Levi's made a big to-do, put out a press release. There was a PR firm, so a high-level PR firm who was advising its corporate clients not to take a stand on this. And so I am actually somewhat surprised that I haven't seen more companies do it. But again, the corporate PR firms maybe are getting the joke, and that America's sick of this. We are tired of this. If you drive in any place that is not a dense city center, you actually see rational, normal people. There are American flags flying. People are polite. There are children that are in intact homes. Believe it or not, there is a normal America outside this freak show, funhouse snapshot that the media always wants to show us, as if everything is the rad fem movement of Washington, D.C. suburbs. It's just not. That's just not the way it is. And so I think what the corporations need to recognize is that not only are there more of us than there are of the crazy people who will prance around nearly naked in white bathing suits, screaming with voodoo dolls about abortion. There's more of us than there are of those whack jobs. Those people who would channel demons so powerfully that they could actually be captured on camera. There's more of us, and I think that we are going to be a force to be reckoned with. Because I'll tell you one thing: the outrage on the left has not manifested itself the way the left thought it was going to after the leak of this decision.
Today's show is sponsored by our friends at MyPillow. Save up to 66% on all items at MyPillow.com when you use the code Dr. Duke. That's DRDUKE. Support this show by supporting a great American company.
All right, it's time for Trending Left. We've compiled some of the craziest stories making waves across the internet for your viewing pleasure. We start with the cause and effect of what happens when kids are indoctrinated with leftist thinking. This time, a homeschool mom, which is an odd choice, a homeschool mom is to blame, she believes, for her child's frustration when it comes to assigning pronouns on a second grade worksheet. Watch the conflicted mom and child.
So, because pronouns, those are all the pronouns, but you used they for those two sentences. Why did you use they?
Because how was I supposed to know if it was a they, them, a he, or a she?
You didn't feel like the name was a clue? No? Why not?
Because you always say nothing is a boy thing and nothing is a girl thing.
Nothing is a boy thing and nothing is a girl thing?
Yeah.
Yeah. So how do I grade this paper?
I don't know.
I should give it an A because it's what I taught. That's what I taught you about being non-binary.
Yeah, isn't that sweet? How about not grading your kid when she's telling the truth about not being able to follow what you're teaching her, and give yourself a grade of F as a homeschool parent? How about that? Staying in the same vein of radical parents indoctrinating their kids, we have a mother who recently posted a video showing how she can take any innocent activity and turn it into a lesson on ideology and gender.
While I'm playing Barbies with my daughters, I teach them pronouns. This one is a she and a her. Or I got her this gender-neutral doll for her birthday, and we decided that it's non-binary, and it's they or them. They're also learning that their boy Barbies can wear dresses because dresses are okay.
Hey, nutjob, pull the pants off all those dolls. They're all gender neutral. Got news for you. There's nothing between their legs. They're dolls, for God's sake. Let's head to Lehigh, Utah, where a fourth grade teacher at Renaissance Academy is in hot water after posting a video discussing how she talks to elementary students about their sexuality, elementary kids, and how she has a special bond because somehow 11-year-old kids just figured out that she was queer. Here we go.
My kids from last year are now in 5th grade, and they come visit me almost every day after school. And a lot of them are queer because I am queer, and they figured it out, and so I've become their safe space. And today they found my Guess Who, and they started playing Guess Who, but they didn't play it the normal way. How did they play it? They used things like, this person looks like a lesbian baddie who's gonna come over and make you dinner. Well, which one of these characters is a lesbian baddie that's gonna come over and make you dinner? Oh, Olivia is? Oh, great. Which character just looks gay? Well, meet Mike. These kids, I'm so happy that they are figuring out who they are and that they're happy with who they are and that they found a safe place. But man, I could never imagine being in 5th grade saying these things out loud, even though I know they're all okay. I grew up super religious where nothing was okay. And so seeing this happen, I'm like, but I'm also like, yay!
Good Lord. The school says after seeing the concerning video describing several inappropriate conversations with former students, the teacher has been placed on administrative leave pending a thorough investigation. I've got a comment. Maybe stop giving all that Adderall to the kids. Maybe start putting it in the teacher's coffee. Moving on to middle school in Wilmington, North Carolina, where the Rainbow Pride is loud and proud. Here we have pictures that have emerged at Trask Middle School of an LGBTQ plus board displayed for students to learn all about the many different sexual orientations that are all made up on their way to recess. As you can see, one of the close-up shots shows definitions for pansexuals, non-binary, and gender fluid. Just what every little kid needs when he wants to go outside and play kick the can all over the parking lot. Let's wrap this up with a woman who has some disturbing advice for girls who want to look like boys, but whose parents are apparently knuckle-dragging bigots. Here's how young women are being coached to bind their breasts and hide them well.
I have some really good news for young trans and non-binary folks whose families aren't supportive. Target has partnered with Tomboy X to sell compression tops. That's right, Target is selling a binder. And the beauty of this is that I have a Tomboy X compression top. This just looks like a sports bra. There's nothing on it that says it's a compression top. Tomboy X's name isn't even on it. They have a little subtle X, and the Target one is also going to have the Target logo. So if, say, your parents found it in your laundry, it's a sports bra. You got it at Target. If you're larger chested like me, it isn't going to make you totally flat, but it is going to give you a much better base to work from to build a masculine silhouette.
You know, what really gets me about this is the degree to which the progressive left now is telling little children to be ashamed and to hide what they naturally are. This isn't about empowerment or liberation. It's about making children feel bad about who they actually are in their biological bodies and how we can conceal it. Oh, and by the way, I wish this was ancient Greece, because the entire administration of Target would actually be sentenced to death, being forced to drink hemlock for corrupting the youth. And that wraps up this segment. More craziness next time. It's time for Reclaiming America with our counterculture mom, Tina Griffin. Tina, glad to see you again, as always.
Absolutely. How you doing, Dr. Duke? Let's reclaim America together.
Let's claim it together. We can plant our collective flag. Let's do that. And let's start by getting rid of idiot politicians like this guy. This is Matthew Dowd, right? He is considered to be a relatively tolerant liberal, but he's not. He was the former advisor for President George Bush. He's worked with other Republican causes. Now he initially was going to run for public office in Texas as a great big lefty. And his argument is that if Jesus was alive today, he would be called a groomer and a socialist by us evil conservatives. Take a look at the video and then you can comment.
And I've said this before and I'll say it again. If Jesus Christ was alive today, he would be called a groomer, he would be called woke, and he would be called a socialist if he was alive today. If he was speaking the message he spoke in the Gospels today about treating everybody with dignity, Jesus Christ hung around with prostitutes and tax collectors. He was nailed to a cross because he spoke on behalf of the most marginalized people in the Middle East.
He's now dropped out of the race because as a white man, he's not diverse enough. That's the reason. Let me address directly the problem. He said, if you conservatives are so bad, if Jesus were alive today, you'd call Jesus a groomer, a socialist, and woke. Let me address them. We would call Jesus a groomer. No, this is the same Jesus said that if you corrupt little children like the left does, you'll have a millstone thrown around your neck and you'll be thrown into the ocean. Number two, the idea that Jesus was woke, this is the same Jesus who pointed directly back to the Old Testament for his moral values. That ain't woke, brother. And number three, Jesus would be a socialist. Excuse me? Jesus completely condemns all political solutions and has what given to Caesar what is Caesar. So again, strike three for Matthew Dowd.
Duke for president. Amazing speech. I couldn't agree more. Yes, we have to get Matthew out of there. Right now he has a millstone wrapped around his neck. Everybody gather forces, get around him, because if people like this have the blinders come off and they place their faith and truth in Jesus, we would have a different America, and he would be very bold and outspoken on the path that is leading to justice. And
liberals want us to believe if Jesus were alive today, he'd be all about murdering the babies in the name of feminism. Ridiculous. We've said all we need to say about this guy. Let's just drop his name from the lexicon. Before we plug out here, take a look at this series on Netflix from Japan about the imminent expectation of men becoming pregnant. Take a look at the video. Instances of male cisgender pregnancies were reported across the world 50 years ago. Mr. Hayama, you are pregnant. Wait, pregnant? Is this cisgender male pregnancy? We've reached the great era where men can give birth. I blurted out. Are you serious? It's mine? That's what a man would say, says the woman.
Okay, you know what? You have a really good voice. You should think about doing soap operas. We just got to get the right message out there. Let's look at some more projects. Yes, I am purposely trying to cover up this insanity right here. What is that? That is not even possible. I don't, people have to go back to science class, dear word.
You know what's unbelievable about this? That's coming from Japan. This is Japan, who was in the news just last week. Elon Musk said, hey, If you're paying attention to what's going on in Japan, Japan is considering demographic suicide. They are not having any babies. It's the lowest baby birth in any major country in the history that we've ever tracked. In a few decades, Japan is going to exterminate itself. And here they are, the Japanese, making movies about men having babies. If you're waiting for men to repopulate Japan, you're going to be waiting for an awful long time.
Absolutely. It's just crazy. And of course, we know everyone's agenda. The globalists here want to destroy the nuclear family and anything to do with Christianity and destroy our children's minds. No way, Jose, not going to happen on my watch, not in my day and age. And the crazy thing is, anyone watching these programs, people won't want to watch these programs. I think it's going to tank because people are awake to what's going on. Even the leftists, even kids are being brainwashed, are seeing that this isn't even possible.
This wasn't that funny or interesting when Arnold Schwarzenegger got pregnant in a movie 20 years ago. Junior, right? So, hey, you know what we need to fix this problem? A big-time dose of Tina Griffin. Tell people how they get your material.
You are hilarious. Another thing we need to do, but thank you for that. You can download the Counterculture Mom app, get premium, click on it. It's $5 a month. You'll get tons of info. But we can also cancel Netflix. Netflix, Dr. Duke, has lost billions of dollars in recent weeks. We've seen many families canceling Disney Plus subscriptions because of the leaked videos discussing their LGBT agenda they're pushing on young children. Watch previous episodes of Reclaiming America. We talk about that. We need to drop both of these services, Dr. Duke, and the streaming services no longer needed. We have to stop feeding the beast. Then we will see these companies, these programs tank and hopefully get some positive entertainment more out there for everybody to check out.
If you have a question for Dr. Duke and Katie, please send it our way by emailing askduke@fpeusa.org.
And that's going to do it for this show. I am Dr. Duke, I think. And until next time, we're all going to stay educated, my friends.